Welcome to Talking Giants, presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Bobby Skinner, here with my co-host, Justin Pennick. And we got ourselves a little preview, a little Giants-Panthers preview. We got an interview coming on later. A longer interview than we usually do. So you'll get some good information out of that. And then Danny King will join us for our fantasy draft, Giant factors, spread picks, and Giants-Panthers predictions. Justin, how are you feeling going into week 7 now at 1-5?
In honor of the Giants being bad and us playing the Panthers this weekend, I decided to put an animal on my lap this week.
We're going to sacrifice this dog.
I am going to put... No, I'm going to put the dog down. I'm going to put it on the ground, if anything. That's it. And he doesn't know what I'm saying about him, and now he's kissing my nose. Hi, Bobby Skinner. Nice to see you. Nice to see you. Hope you're well. I hope the YouTube crowd is getting enjoyment out of seeing that there's a dog on my lap. If you ever thought my skin was white, well, my dog's white. So you can really see how there's a difference there. I'm excited that there's 2 home games in a row. There hasn't been 2 consecutive Giants home games in a row since 2019, since we had the Washington football team and the Minnesota Vikings the next week when the Giants were 2-2 and then 2-3. So excited to go back to MetLife, but rather than that, I almost have zero emotional investment in whether this team wins or loses as my dog kisses my mouth.
That's disgusting. That's a disgusting animal. Speaking of disgusting animals, Timothy Underwood, brother of Frank Underwood, who is dead. And that last episode, last series of that show, what was the name of the show? House of Cards was horrible. Tobey Maguire, talking TV characters. Jonathan Pantoja.
He's a movie character.
Any Jonathans from, I don't know.
John Locke from Lost.
Is it Jonathan Locke or John?
Nah, it was John. I cheated.
Then doesn't count. I trust me. I know tons of Johns. I don't know a ton of. I know one Jonathan, and anyways. I'm not gonna do that. Edmund Johnson. No point of that joke, Bobby. Edmund Johnson. Johnson and Johnson and Johnson and Johnson and Johnson. Simon Zerfowski. Don't know anyone named like that. Eamon Coleman. And man, he's an Emon. He's Emon. Take it easy, Mon. And then this name is, I'm going to say it, Say No to NWO 95, or it could be Say Not on WO 95.
Sure.
I don't know which one it is. It's not a real name. I'll just say that. Buddy Mr. Brown stuff, Jonathan Torrens, who is the actor who plays J-Rock. You know what I'm saying? Who are these actors?
You're losing it. I'm the one with the dog on my lap, but you're losing it today. So, fun fact, after the show's over today, the Patreon members are going to have a one-on-one exclusive with my dog. There's going to be a Q&A, and that's something that only Patreon members can get. If you go to patreon.com/talkinggiants, $2 a month, Bobby will send you some magnets. I will send you my dog in the mail as well if you sign up. Patreon.com/talkinggiants. Thanks to our patrons.
And Jonathan Pinto is in the chat right now, and he says he's from Wisconsin.
Sure. Good cheese.
So it's and then I think the other person's in there too, and I'm seeing his real name. I'm not going to dox him.
No, don't do that.
He's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You know, I was in Minnesota, and I never went to Wisconsin. I went to Iowa. If you're an Iowa State grad, you know about Visha, I think it is, like this huge fest. Anyways, I went to that. All right, Justin, this is a winnable game for the Giants. Now, they shouldn't be favored, but it is winnable. Both teams are banged up with injuries. We'll talk about all of them. But it seems like the Giants are just a worse team than the Panthers. Does it seem? They are a worse team than the Panthers, and they're more injured, so obviously they're not going to be favored. But this is a winnable game. The offense hasn't been playing well now. Our defense hasn't been playing well. Now, where we are totally outmatched is their defense versus our offense, and that's why they should be the clear favorites in this game. Justin, and injury-wise, like the Giants here, they're without Golladay, Tony, Saquon. Evan Ingram just popped up on the did not practice list. So I don't know what's going to happen with him, but he doesn't sway me a ton. Shep was limited, Slayton is limited, but I do expect both those guys to play. But they're missing Shaq Thompson, and you'll hear in the interview, like Shaq Thompson was balling before he got hurt, and he's not officially out, but it looks like he's gonna be out. But Justin, the real battle on the Giants offense versus the Panthers defense is Matt Peart starting at left tackle, Nate Solder starting at right tackle, and they have Hassan Reddick, who has 6.5 sacks this year, Brian Burns, who has 3 sacks, And, oh, by the way, they blitz the second most in the NFL at 34%.
What do you think Jason Garrett's going to try and come out and do? Have a similar type of attack to Tampa last year where it was a little bit more downfield, but also prioritizing getting the ball out of the hands quick? Or, what's the approach for this Giants offense, in your opinion?
I mean, you essentially have the same personnel because the Bucs game last year was the game Andrew Thomas got good, versus JPP. That's where you saw him really adjust his inside foot. So maybe, but when they blitz, it's not like the Bucs blitz the most in the NFL. The Bucs do a lot of cover zero blitzes, where the Panthers, it's a lot, they're disguising looks. They're bringing the safety down type thing. So not every blitz is equal. But what I think is going to be done a lot is max protect. The Giants, and they've done it a lot this year anyways, but with those two players playing tackle and Parrott and Solder and what they have up front, even if they weren't a team that blitzed a ton, you would have to max protect because you have to block those guys on the edge. You have to get those guys blocked up on the edge, or this offense won't be able to work at all. Probably won't work at all regardless, but it's going to be a lot of 2 and 3 man routes, and in fact the Panthers have given up some big plays like that the past few weeks because of those type of plays.
Yeah. This team overall, they're on a 3-game losing streak. I know they started off hot, 3-0. And everybody was kind of ready to crown them, to crown them as, kings and maybe as a possible sneaky team. And Darnold's looked really good to start. I think the defense is kind of kept afloat in terms of their okay to solid performances. I know there was a game against Dallas in there, but Dallas has been torching everybody up. But Bobby, is there anything else you want to say on the defense before we move to the offense? Because the game, this is a game where we're almost looking at it like it's 2020, where the defense is going to have to step up and have a good game, and the offense is going to do just enough, and that's been the status quo of just this Judge and Garrett kind of era so far.
Well, I want to ask you this.
Sure. They're
not a good run defense. They give the 5th most yards per attempt at 4.7 yards per carry. They're middle of the pack yards wise. I feel like we're at a point with this Giants run game on offense that it doesn't matter. I just don't expect the run game to get rolling no matter what.
Yeah.
Maybe when Saquon gets back, do I expect some big plays out of the run game here? Yes, but to be a consistently team that the run game is an advantage for the Giants, I can't. It doesn't matter who we're playing. I'm never gonna go into a game viewing our run game as an advantage. Like, hey, we should, because, and this isn't about the greater pass versus run debate.
Yeah,
but it's like, if the Giants could run the ball well and you have all these guys out and you have Andrew Thomas out, you would say like, hey, I think we should, try and be able to run the ball a little more and protect, to protect Daniel Jones, to protect the passing game and stop us from turnovers. But if we just can't get that going, so I don't want them to even really attempt to do that, to be running on first down and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, try it situationally. I mean, I think that's the approach every game. If there's a game where you would want to try and get it going because you don't want Daniel Jones throwing as much, if Daniel Jones is going to have a similar game as he had last week against the Rams, which I certainly hope that's not the case.
Yeah, please.
But
no.
But if he's going to have a similar game and you feel like the flow of the game is going to be similar in that type of way, then running the ball more and trying to get that going is something that I'm not going to hate, because Devontae Booker, you signed him to be an efficient backup running back that is going to get 4 yards, 4.5 yards a pop. He can run it. He can run it into the stacked boxes. I mean, him and the advanced stats between him and Wayne Gallman were kind of similar last year. So you sign the guy, let him do it. And if the team is kind of decimated and you need to do that, Caden Smith, Kyle Rudolph are here for a reason. If that's the strength of your team, then go right ahead and do it. But don't force it like you said, because the Giants have been doing a pretty solid job of passing on early downs and stuff like that. They need to find something that works.
Yeah.
With
the Giants, they're missing their 3 best run blocking offensive linemen too.
Yeah.
Andrew Thomas, Shane Lemieux, and Nick Gates.
And with all these guys that are out, including the wide receivers, the offensive linemen, now we're at a point where at least we were getting yards a couple weeks ago. Well, now we're not even doing that consistently. We just need to find something that works. And if that's through the run game, then sure, let's do that. So
I just don't think it will, and I think you agree with me. It's just, if Andrew Thomas, Shane Lemieux, and Nick Gates were starting for this team, I would be talking about running the ball more. But we can't get the running game going. Yeah. So there's, you kind of got to. Daniel Jones has to, really ball. Like, he has to ball. If Daniel Jones can play well this game. And by the way, go check out QB School's video, QB Schools video on Daniel Jones, which I'll be honest, it didn't make me feel good about the Giants, but it really made me feel good about like my ego because I was like, wow, we said all the exact same things in our film reviews. It did stroke my ego a little bit, but it's like, man, it's gonna be tough without Andrew Thomas. Like we could deal with wide receiver injuries. I don't know how we're gonna deal with Andrew Thomas out.
Yeah, and one of the things too that I feel like that's very significant about this Giants season, Giants allowed 28 points in the second quarter, but allowed 0 points in the first quarter against the Rams, and they've still only allowed 3 points in the first quarter all year long. But we've had opportunities in the first quarter to take leads. We've had opportunities in the first quarter where we've put together some good drives. If that is going to be a common trend that still exists from this season, where defense clamps down in the first quarter, offense is moving the ball, how about we score a touchdown? Let's get 7 points, get 10 points on the board to start the game and see how this team plays and operates with the lead. Because frankly, I think that's kind of Dave Gettleman and Joe Judge's mindset in terms of how they've created this roster. We want to be a roster that plays with the lead in terms of the investments of the O-line, running the ball, right? Controlling time of possession. Get an early lead and let's see what happens. Even if you blow it, because the defense stinks in quarters 2 and 4, even if you blow it, just give yourself an opportunity to get the lead early, because I feel like that's how this team is kind of designed, but it just never happens.
I just think Daniel Jones just needs to make it happen.
Yeah,
Reggie Eddie is trying to trigger me in the chat, saying that they see the Patreon chat. They know that phrase. I kind of ruined that phrase by the way last year, which made me like the make it happen phrase. Mm-hmm. All right. As far as our defense versus their offense, this could be a game where the defense looks good. Don't expect it because they're ranked 30th. But Darnold has come back down to earth a little bit. He's thrown interceptions. On the year right now, he's 7 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Not even completing 62%. He's completing 61.2% of his passes. The offense is very DJ Moore heavy. Like that's really with Christian McCaffrey out. The offense is essentially solely it's DJ Moore. I mean, DJ Moore has 40 catches, 513 yards, 3 touchdowns. He's averaging 85 yards per game. Their next best yards per game is Robbie Anderson with 31 yards per game. And then third best is Ian Thomas with 20 yards per game. And that's including the first 3 games of the year where they were like a pretty good offense. Nothing great, but pretty good. So if Bradbury, and Bradbury did play all right versus the Rams. If Bradbury can play well versus DJ Moore, his former teammate, by the way, I'll save some of that talking point for maybe a Giant factor. But like this, it's got to be about shutting down DJ Moore and the fact that Matt Rule said like, hey, we want to get back to running the ball a ton.
Yep, I agree. And where is DJ Moore lines up? Slot, primarily slot, outside. Where's he lining up? Outside. So again, it's a matter of which corner is going to primarily be covering him. But I feel like it doesn't matter. I feel like we ask that every week, but I feel like they're going to alternate, right, between a Dory Jackson and James Bradbury.
Yeah, it's Bradbury's lining up mostly on the right, Adore on the left, but they do switch sides and stuff.
Should we expect any different combination at slot corner? Aaron Robinson is back at practice, but don't expect him or Ellerson Smith to be involved at all. So should we expect anything different at slot corner this week between Jabril Peppers and everything like that?
Do you think it's time to just put Darnay back in this as the nickel corner? He only got a few reps last Sunday, but he did look good on them. Like I feel like we accepted the fact that they wanted to play more press man with Roderis, but it's like I would just put Darnay back in.
Yeah.
Like he's not perfect, but like he's a serviceable nickel corner, and he's a young player who should be getting better too. So I think it's time to just play Darnay Holmes. I don't know what. I understood them wanting to play more press man, but at some point, Darnay Holmes is your best corner. Is your third best corner on this team. So Darnay Holmes should play, and especially instead of playing like Jabril Peppers at slot corner.
Yeah, and like we talked about, there were literally 3 better options that you had at safety who are better slot corner options than Jabril Peppers. Like all 3 of them had like slot corner experience in some capacity in their careers and collegiate careers, rather than Jabril Peppers. Yet it was Peppers that was going up against Cooper Kupp. So that just made little sense. That's something I don't want to see. That was the
first Patrick Graham. It's like I just don't like there's things you might disagree with, but like I understand the thinking on it. That was the first time I was like, I don't understand what you are thinking on this.
Yeah.
And no one asked him about that on the beat. either, by the way, which is like you get to talk to him once. Why not talk about it like that? Rule said he wants to run the ball, and this week we can move to the interview after this. And I sure hope he does, because they only average 3.9 yards per attempt on the run. That's the same as the New York Giants, and that's with Daniel Jones bumping up the yards per carry for the Giants up. Where DJ's like one of like top 5 in yards per carry as a QB this year, or just in the league. Like, please run the ball 30 to 35 times versus us, especially when we know that our offense isn't going to score a lot of points. Like, I'm hoping the Panthers get back to running the ball.
Yeah, they don't really run it outside the tackles a ton. 20%, but that may change because teams have been trying to test the Giants in terms of running outside the tackles. They've only, they average about 30% opposing teams do in terms of their directional rushing outside the tackles against the Giants. And like I said, the Panthers are around 20%. So I invite it too, because frankly, I just want to see how this Giants defense does, against maybe a bad rushing offense. I want to see how they do against, a team that they should be able to beat. So let's see it.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think the Giants might need some extra help getting up this week?
Oh yeah, they may need some extra help getting up. And I have a question for my puppy. We've never said his name. Nobody asked his name. I'm going to dox my puppy right now. His name is Mikey. Mikey, I have a question. Oh, you look very uncomfortable. Oh no, Mikey.
This dog is making me uncomfortable.
It is. I could tell. It's been tough. I've been hanging in there like a trooper.
I'm a doggist. There's very few types of breeds of dogs I like, and I'm just not a fan of that type.
Well, I have a question for
I know
Mikey.
I'm being really mean right now. But
He can't hear you. Mikey, is Roman the best provider?
Your dog's name is Mikey?
Yes, his name is Mikey.
That's not a dog name.
Mikey the Mickey. The Mickey is is the breed. So I have a question for him. You're not say nothing. If Roman is the best provider and can help you the most with your ED, say nothing. There you go. I think that answers it. So look, no one's perfect. Sometimes Bobby doesn't think all dogs...
Especially some dog breeds aren't.
I was just about to say, yeah, especially because Bobby doesn't think some dogs are perfect. Even sometimes the best batters in the world strike out with the bases loaded. Even sometimes backup tight ends are signed for $12 million and they don't do anything. But that's okay. So if you feel like you're coming up short in the bedroom sometimes, like Mikey and I, he's sleeping in my bed tonight. If you feel like we're going to come up short in the bedroom sometimes, it's perfectly okay. But if it's bothering you, there are options. Go to GetRoman.com/JohnBoy right now. With Roman, you get a free online evaluation for an ongoing care for ED, all from the comfort of the privacy of your home. A licensed U.S. healthcare provider. They will work with you and to find the best treatment plan. Oh, microphone's moving. Dog's falling. U.S. licensed healthcare provider will work with you to find the best treatment plan. If medication is appropriate, it ships to you free with 2-day shipping. The whole process is straightforward and discreet. Getting started is simple. Go to GetRoman.com/JohnBoy and complete an online visit. Take care of your ED without leaving your home. Complete an online visit today to connect with the doctor and take care of it. Take care of it, puppy. You can't see him. He's on my lap right now. Go to GetRoman.com/JohnBoy to get $15 off your first month. Look, there's a straightforward way to take care of your ED. GetRoman.com/JohnBoy. Get started now. Save $15 off your first month of treatment. And I certainly know when Mikey and I are spooning tonight, he's going to thank me that I got Roman.
That's just so off-putting. That's just... Roman's so great, and you're so horrible.
That's a good. I'm gonna put that on the shirt.
So Getro Man, come save that dog's life, Getro Man, of Roman. So that was wonderful. Now I see the dog peeking up. What, Mikey, put the headphones on the dog.
Sure. All right, here. You scared him.
No, I had the microphone on mute. He couldn't hear me.
He jumped. Oh boy. All right, let's get to this interview, shall we?
All right, we got Desmond Johnson of the Bleav in 20-minute interview, which is weird for us. All right, here is Desmond Johnson. All right, we now welcome on of the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast, Desmond Johnson. Desmond, how you doing? You know, at covering the Giants, it's just kind of been bad all year. Besides one nice little win, and then the Panthers went 3-0, and now are at 3-3. So what's it like? How's it feel in Panthers land right now?
You would think the sky is falling if you went to any Panther social media group on Facebook. Like it's the end of the world. Get rid of Darnold, get rid of Tepper, get rid of Rule, get rid of everybody. And I don't know what people's plan is if they do that, but I think the Panther fan base got spoiled a little bit with the 3-0 start. And now 0-3 in the past 3 games is kind of leveled that plane back down a bit. So it's interesting to kind of see where the fan base is, because there's a lot of different things going on in terms of the Panthers name being out there for certain things that are happening around the league. So it's interesting to say the least. So I'm ready for them to get back out there on Sunday and just kind of get the stench of losing to the Vikings the way that we did and the Eagles the week prior, and just kind of getting it out of there.
Yeah, I watched the end of that game, and like it was awesome.
Yeah.
In the fourth quarter drive, and then losing it in overtime. But I mean, not to get too, this could be a 20-minute answer, but how did they go from the 3-0 Panthers? Like Panthers are a real deal, and I like, the Panthers were my surprise team of like pick of the years. Like I think the Panthers are going to make the playoffs this year. How did they go from 3-0 to 0-3? Is it like a regression of Sam Darnold, or maybe the defense wasn't like what has been like the biggest issues to drop them that down?
Honestly, I think injury had a lot to do with it. While we've been relatively healthy, our best offensive player, Christian McCaffrey, got hurt in that week 3 win against Houston. Hasn't played since. He's now in IR. He'll be out for another 2 weeks with a hamstring injury. And probably our best defensive player, Shaq Thompson, he's been out for the past couple of weeks as well. I think he got hurt the same game versus Houston, hurt his foot. And the last time I checked, it's not looking good for Shaq to play versus the Giants this Sunday. But Shaq had literally come off his best game, maybe of his career, the week prior. Had an interception, battered ball, a couple sacks, some hurries, a bunch of tackles. He finally was kind of getting out of the shadow of Luke Kuechly and Thomas Davis with them not being in the building anymore. He's probably the most tenured defensive player. He is the most tenured defensive player on the Panthers roster and the highest paid on the defensive side as well. So not having him out there has hurt the defense. They've dropped from where they were the first 3 weeks of the season, where they're basically a top 2 defensive unit. They've slipped a little bit since then with him being out. And teams are starting to block our front a lot better in terms of getting into the backfield. Like Kirk Cousins, for example, with Minnesota, basically was getting the ball out 2-3 step drops. He wasn't allowing Hassan Reddick and Brian Burns to even sniff him or get close to him. I would imagine the Panthers are going to do some stuff with that and get that corrected. Sam Darnold, I don't know if it's regression or that Christian McCaffrey hides a lot of warts, because a lot of times these plays that you've seen Sam Darnold get sacked on, or he rushes a throw and there's an interception or whatever, a lot of times the first 3 weeks of the season, he didn't have to do that option because Christian McCaffrey standing in the flat wide open that can run another 20 yards, like coming out of the backfield. And you do that 4, 5, 6 times a game, all of a sudden you're throwing 75% and you've got 250 yards racked up, and it looks like you've been defeating, the world. But in actuality, you've got a security blanket, the best security blanket in the NFL, called Christian McCaffrey. With him being out, it's turned the Carolina offense into a more predictable offense, where even the wide receivers, Robbie Anderson 2 weeks ago was complaining that cornerbacks were sitting on his route. They knew where he was going and they never adjusted throughout the game. That was in the Eagles game. So I'm kind of looking more. Matt Rule came out and said they're going to dedicate more to the run. This team isn't built to throw the ball 40, 50 times a game and be successful. If you've got a good defense like they do, just stick to the basics, run the ball, stop the run. Chuba Hubbard has looked pretty good the past 2 weeks in particular, the rookie that we drafted that was a former leader in college rushing yards. I think Carolina is still okay. If somebody told me we were going to be 3-3 after 6 games after the year we had last year, I probably would have took it. I'd been fine with that. I kind of picture them as a middle of the road type team this year, and next year's the year when they can really take a step forward. But don't tell that to anybody in Carolina's front office, because they're trying to go for it now with trades and roster movement and things of that sort. So I think that really what it boils down to is that some injuries to some key players kind of derailed this young team in the beginning. But hopefully Sunday is going to be almost a new beginning, almost a new quarter for the Panthers to be able to move forward and get back in the win column.
I don't think anyone needs to listen to the rest of the show because that just sounded like a perfect synopsis of what's going on with the Panthers right now and what to expect.
It's real down here in Carolina. Like, and people don't even want to hear that. As a Carolina fan, like, we don't want to hear that. We need to trade McCaffrey. We need to do this and that. And it's wild down here, man. It's wild.
Yeah. You mentioned Shaq Thompson probably not going to play this week, and you said like the best player in the defense. I thought the same thing too when watching them early in the year. I know Brian Burns was getting the love, but I was like, man, Shaq is flying around and infecting every level of the game, man. Whether it's coverage, rushing the passer, I mean, he looked really good. Other guys that might be out, Terrace Marshall and Alex Erickson. What does it look like with them right now?
I haven't seen the latest yet for either. I'm not sure if Terrence is going to be back this week. Took a pretty hard hit late in that Minnesota game. I Bleav they ruled him out with a concussion. So he's got to get through the concussion protocols, be able to get back on the field, sensitivity light, things like that. So I'm not sure exactly where he is. I haven't had a chance to check the injury report because Carolina started doing some stuff where almost Patriot like, where, you know, if a guy's hurt, you really don't get a good idea if he's going to play or not until you get to the weekend. So Terrence may play. Luckily for Carolina, they kind of are stacked at wide receiver right now. Shi Smith got into the game last week, South Carolina product. They've got big plans for him. I expect to see more of him if Terrence can't go. But to be honest, I would imagine they're going to not rely on the passing game as much versus the Giants. I think they're really going to rededicate themselves to the run game. According to head coach Matt Rule earlier this week in his press conferences, they're looking to run the ball 30, 35 times a game, which is kind of where I wanted them at to begin with. I think Sam, he's not the type of quarterback that can elevate other players. I think we've gotten to that point where we've realized he's not that guy. But this might surprise you, Bobby, but on the Bleav in Carolina Panthers podcast the past couple of weeks, I've actually compared Sam Darnold to Troy Aikman in terms of the type of quarterback he is. And it came from that Houston game that Troy was calling on NFL Network, where he mentioned he had met with Sam Darnold and liked his technique, liked his mechanics, liked a lot of things about him, his size and everything else. And it got me thinking, and I was a huge Cowboys fan back in the day. I started thinking about Troy Aikman. He's in the Hall of Fame, got a gold jacket and everything. But I think he only threw for more than like 23 touchdowns, like one season in his career. He threw for over 3,500 yards, like one season in his career. It was in 92. He was, for the most part, when you look at his stats, you're kind of like, how did he get in the Hall of Fame? Well, he's got 3 rings and he had people around him. He had the greatest rusher of all time in his backfield, and Emmitt Smith. He had Alvin Harper and Michael Irvin on the outside that could move the chains if needed. He had a great tight end in Jay Novacek. And he had one of the greatest offensive lines of all time in front of him, the Great Wall of Dallas. So all Troy had to do was not turn the ball over and basically be an orchestrator of the offense. And that's kind of how I see Sam Darnold. He's not Pat Mahomes. He's not going to turn a Tyreek Hill into a Tyreek Hill, or he's not Tom Brady, like he's not that kind of quarterback. But I do think that he is young enough to be molded into a Troy Aikman type of quarterback that can just efficiently run the offense, not put the defense in issues like he has the past 2 weeks with short fields, and just be comfortable with the system that he's running. And right now, I think he's pushing it too much. So I think Carolina's going to be okay with the rededication to the run game. It should pull a lot away from Sam Darnold and his responsibilities. He should not be out there throwing it 45 times a game. And if it's gotten to that point in the Giants game, you guys might have a really good shot of getting that second win.
Second win. That I hate hearing that.
We were there. We've been there. I know.
Is Gilmore going to play? I think he came off PUP list this week.
He did. They are looking to try to get him in. I don't know how often he will play, but anytime you can get a former defensive player of the league to your rotation, it's got to help in some sense. And I think Carolina's trying to build a Legion of Boom 2.0, I Bleav, in terms of what they're doing with the draft. Acquiring CJ Henderson a couple weeks back, who was a top 10 draft pick just last year. Dante Jackson's probably having his best season of his career in a contract year this year. Jeremy Chin was a great second round pick last year that probably should have got more votes for defensive rookie of the year than he did. And now you add someone like Stephon Gilmore to the mix. I'm excited about getting all those guys at one time. JC Horn, who by all accounts, I think he's out of his walking boot. He's trying to come back for the playoffs, which I love the sentiment that he's thinking that the Panthers are going to make the playoffs. So why not be ready to rock and roll when they do? it's abundance of talent in the secondary. When they're all healthy and they're all out there, they're going to cause problems for whoever is trying to throw the ball on them. So I'm looking forward to it, but it sucks because I don't know when that's going to be. I don't know when the future is. I don't know when they're going to have them all playing healthy together. I don't know if it's this season. I just don't know. So we're keeping an eye on that. But yeah, Gilmore, I Bleav he's going to get in the game. He's going to get some snaps. He might get more snaps than he expects. But from what I've seen, they are kind of pushing to get him on the field on Sunday for the first time in a while, actually.
Right. So, I mean, you talked to, we know, I don't need to ask you about, Brian Burns and Reddick. I mean, for one, Reddick had 5 sacks versus the Giants last year, and our tackles will make any edge look good. So I don't need to ask you about
that.
That's good to hear. Yeah. Oh man, it's Andrew Thomas was playing really well, and then he's on IR. So now it's like, okay, man. Before Andrew Thomas got hurt, we were debating about which bad tackle to play, and that's Nate Solder, the old one, and then Matt Parrott, the second-year guy. And now it's like, all right, well, now we get to see both, which is not as fun. It's the start Matt Parrott movement isn't as fun as it was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, it's always fun in games until they actually get in the game, and you're like,
yeah. We know DJ Moore is good. So you mentioned, the Panthers want to get back to the running game. I saw that Matt Rule quote earlier this week too. With Chuba Hubbard, I see him at, I just look at the stat book, less than 4 yards a pop, but at the same time, so is McCaffrey. Is there do you see a significant drop off? Obviously you do, but maybe just focusing just on the run game and not necessarily the receiving game? Or is it like they just can't block up front right now for the run game?
Sadly, I think the Panthers' issue is pass blocking. I think run blocking, they're actually okay. It's just that the Panthers don't dedicate themselves to running the ball, which I hope is going to be different starting Sunday. But you can't really work yourself up into a lather as a running back if you're getting the ball like every 6 or 7 plays or whatnot. McCaffrey's different because he's such an asset in the passing game. He's such a security blanket for whoever's back there. It was the same for Teddy Bridgewater last year, and it was the same for Cam Newton before Teddy and Sam were here, where when you've got a guy like Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield, he's great on blitz protection. He's great in terms of moving the chains in space. If you get him in space one-on-one against a linebacker, barbecue chicken. Like there's nobody in the league that can cover CMC one-on-one like that coming out. He runs routes as well as a wide receiver does. And some actually maybe better than a lot of the wide receivers in the league, which is why the Panthers gave him that bag and gave him the extension last year, which kicks in this upcoming year.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that McCaffrey's quote unquote injury prone or whatever. He was never hurt until last year. And this hamstring injury, I really chalk it up to the fact that they had a short week and had to play on a Thursday night after playing, 4 days prior on Sunday, and then having to travel across country to Houston to play. I think it was more along the lines of that than anything else. I think McCaffrey's going to be just fine. But to your original question about running the ball, I've seen parts of games where the Panthers have dedicated that drive to running the ball and they're able to get chunks of yardage being really creative. They do miss Curtis Samuel, who they let go in free agency. He's now with the Washington football team. And when McCaffrey got hurt last year, he picked up a lot of the rushing slack with jet sweeps and just direct handoffs and things like that. I don't know if they have a guy like that on the roster right now. They've tried some of that with DJ Moore. They might try it with Shi Smith a little bit, but I think Hubbard is more than adequate to be able to hold on to or to hold up the rushing game while McCaffrey is out. They do have Royce Freeman, who will get some snaps as well. I thought I saw that they had signed the running back from Minnesota, Abdullah.
Amir Abdullah, yeah. I actually wanted the Giants to grab him now. He doesn't get any carries, but every time he does, he gets like 10 yards a pop. He's a fun player to watch.
And he was, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he go to like Nebraska or something?
Yeah, Nebraska kid,
and
yeah.
Wasn't he like a top like college rusher too? Like, didn't he lead the country in rushing yards or something? That name seems familiar to me.
I'm not sure, but I remember he was really good at Nebraska. And the Giants were searching for a backup running back this year. And I think the last 2 years, Amir Abdullah was on like my want list because he makes big plays, but he only gets like, a carry every other game with the way Minnesota runs Cook and Madison.
I think they're gonna try to work him a little bit here, combo with him and Hubbard. And I like the fact that Rule is kind of reaching into his college coaching memory of guys that maybe, gashed him, that maybe aren't getting enough reps in the NFL right now that could use a home. And I like what Carolina's doing overall. I'm able to kind of zoom out and see the big picture of what's happening as opposed to micromanaging week to week emotions on why did they do this, why didn't they do that, what's going on here and there. I think they're on the right track, and that's the key. But it's a what have you done for me lately league, and Carolina needs a win right now. So I'm hoping that this game versus the Giants is a wake up call for the Panthers to kind of find an identity. We really don't know what they are. We don't know if they're a passing team, a rushing team, if they're a defensive led team. Like they haven't really put their foot down on anything yet. And Rule kind of addressed that this week in his press conferences that they really need to decide what their identity is without McCaffrey. And I think this week will be the start of them trying to figure that out.
Right. So I said that was the last thing. This is the last thing. Giants fans want Panthers fans to join in on the fire Dave Gettleman chants in MetLife this week.
So you guys have arrived there.
Yeah. Are Panthers fans as mad at him as Giants fans are now?
Not anymore. Well, probably, maybe. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're probably still mad at him because I think a lot of people, when the Panthers had that 2015 season, that magical run that should have ended in a Super Bowl victory, I think a lot of people gave Dave Gettleman a lot of credit for that. But to be honest, when you look at that roster, Marty Hurney really built that roster. Dave Gettleman just kind of cleaned the fringes of it. Like he cleaned the whole wide receiver room out. Stop me if you've heard this before in New York. He cleaned out whole like position groups and replaced them with like dudes off the street that would come in on a Wednesday and be starting on Sunday. He was very frugal when it came to re-upping star players. He didn't really understand the culture of the team. So like, shipping somebody like Steve Smith off really irritated the fan base. Just like I'm sure shipping off Odell Beckham Jr. probably, irritated a lot of the Giant fan base. But that's kind of the way he is. He feels like wide receiver isn't as important. Secondary isn't as important. He loves his hog mollies. He likes to go after, offense and defensive linemen. Even if they don't pan out, he'll go and, get a bunch of them and bring them in and kind of work it from there. But in the end, he kind of rubs people the wrong way by the time he's leaving a place. Didn't have a lot of people skills. And I think that was the one problem that we had here in Carolina, where it just felt like he didn't really connect with the fan base. And as a general manager, I don't think you have to do that. But for the names that he was threatening to cut or not extend or traded away or whatever the case may be, he really damaged his reputation here. And it sounds like he's doing it in New York right now. I wish I had something better to tell you, but I don't think it's going to end.
Well, I will say the one thing I do like about him is his press conferences are must watch TV every time.
Oh gosh,
he's just his one-liners. Now some people hate that. It's like the one. It's the one thing I will miss about Dave Gettleman. It's his press conferences because whoever comes in next will be probably pretty boring. But
follow that. How long do you think you got? I mean, it sounds like you guys are at the point we were like around 2017, 2018, where it's like he kind of grown thin.
He's definitely gone. I mean, this year 4 and they're 1-5. You can keep. I don't even know. I don't need to go into details on that. And they just spent a ton of money. The question right now is, do they wait till the season's over or do it mid-season? So that's why Giants fans want Panthers fans to join in on the fire Dave Gettleman chant.
That gets you some moral support or something.
Yeah.
Hey, when we let him go, it wasn't at the end of the year. We let him go mid-season too, if I'm not mistaken, or towards the end of his season.
Right before the season.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, like they let him stick around for the draft and some other stuff, and then right before the season began, they let him go and brought back in Marty Hurney for a bit. And Marty was here last year, and then finally David Tepper brought in Scott Fitterer, so it was finally his hire as opposed to somebody that had been in the Panther fan base or the Panther front office before. But yeah, I would probably get away from Dave as quickly as possible so you can start the build a little bit. I never understood drafting Daniel Jones as high as he did because he was probably going to be there at 16 or 20 or wherever it may be. And for him to move up in the top 10 to go get him, I just felt like it was such like a desperate reach to go get a guy that he liked. That
I think the most maligned moves by Gettleman are the ones that are actually kind of good, like Daniel Jones obviously is split and he hasn't, but like before this past game, Daniel Jones was playing really well this season.
Yeah,
and it was so frustrating. It's like we're freaking 1-4 and Daniel Jones is playing. Like Andrew Thomas was very criticized because of the way the other rookie tackles played last year, and he had been balling. Now he's hurt. Tony, people were calling Tony a bust before he played a game, and now he's everyone's favorite player. It's and you mentioned the Odell trade. Everyone was pissed. Now, they didn't get what they got back hasn't really panned out, but like if you look at it in a vacuum, like okay, that was like it's the most maligned moves that are like the ones that people aren't mad at Dave at. It's like everything else has been bad around it. Just kind of the way. I mean, they have no edge presence. I mean, it's
which is unusual for a Giants team. Yeah, I grew up on LT and Michael Strahan, all that kind of like it's weird to not see a Giants defense that doesn't have somebody on the edge that can get there.
I put out a tweet. Their second and third guys on the edge. Their number one right now would be Azeez Ojulari, the rookie. They both have the same amount of sacks and QB hits as our backup nickel corner right now. So, which is 0 sacks and 1 QB hit.
Well, I have mixed feelings about it because now, with us seeing you guys, that could go one of two ways. Either we get our groove back, or you guys get your groove back because you're seeing us. So it's kind of one of those weird situations where something's got to give.
We might win, but I don't think we're getting any groove back for the season over. Desmond, I appreciate you giving us your time. We'll make sure to tag you and everything, and maybe we'll talk again next year.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Thank you. NFL fans, hungry for a big win this week? Like that dog is hungry for food? DraftKings Sportsbook, because Justin starves it, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, has you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their games. And if they do, $200 in free bets. Bam, bam. Winner, winner, chicken dinner, Bobby Skinner. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings Daily Fantasy Sports Contest. Wow. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars. Not millions of doll hairs, millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Just too good to be true. But it is true. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code JOHNBOY. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game and win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code JOHNBOY this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana 1-800-9-WITH-IT. You could do both in Indiana, by the way, I guess now. All right, we now welcome on the fourth member of the show, Dumbass Danny. Danny, you got any dumbass weather?
I mean, I think the dog should honestly take my spot. I mean, look how professional he is. Silent. It's beautiful. The dog's doing a great job over there, by the way.
I agree.
And see, that dog looks like a girl, but it's a boy.
Excuse me.
Wow, whoa, this is, come on, 2021. Let's get with the time. The weather for Sunday at MetLife, Justin, because I know you're going to be there in misery, but you're going to have fun because no one cares about the Giants anymore. You're just there for football. It's going to be 59 degrees, mostly cloudy. It's basically going to be like that throughout the entire game. It's just going to be nice weather. You're not going to be sweating. So you won't be sweating while watching a terrible football team play. So there's nothing wrong with that, you know?
I'll be honest, I was reading the chat. I didn't hear what you said.
It's going to be great weather.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to you because, I mean, you're in Florida.
The weather has been nice this past week.
Well, what is it down there, like 90?
Like highs of 80.
Oh, look at that. Florida.
Like right now it's 5:30. It's 82 degrees. So I guess highs at 85, but it's been pretty been pretty nice.
It's rather nice.
So MetLife, we're in MetLife. Sam Darnold returns to MetLife. Underrated storyline.
Return to MetLife. We couldn't get the Odell return to MetLife, so we got the Sam Darnold return to MetLife.
Well, see, he's returning it. Isn't he returning to it for the second time?
No, they played the Jets at home.
Got it.
They played the Jets at home. Justin, I feel like you might be able to get this trivia question. I'm putting a lot of pressure on you.
Sure.
So we'll see if you're able to get it done here. All right, so Giants traveled to Carolina back on December 10th, 2006. I don't remember that game because I wasn't into football at that time. And they won by a final score of 27-13. A Giants player had 2 interceptions on that game. Can you name the player?
What year?
2006.
Sheesh.
He was a defensive back. We'll make that take away like it was a line.
Will Allen.
Think crazy. Will Allen.
Guessing that's not it.
Do you have a guess?
I'm going to say Corey Webster.
It was neither of those. I didn't know who this guy was. It was Jabril Wilson.
Oh,
Anyone remember
he's
Jabril Wilson.
Oh, wow.
You cheated. You led me to believe that it was a corner. Jabril Wilson is a free safety.
It says a defensive back.
I said defensive back. I feel like that's fair.
I think that's. I'm putting an asterisk on the results of this year in terms of if we get it right or wrong.
Just quick information: he was drafted with the 136th overall pick, the 2004 NFL Draft. He played 4 seasons with the Giants before playing with 3 other teams: Oakland, Miami, and Cincinnati.
I love Jabril
Wilson.
Very hard hitter. I love them.
Someone guessed Sam Madison, who I was very hyped when the Giants signed Sam Madison.
I don't think he was here until 2007. I think so. I don't think he was on the team yet.
Right.
Will Allen probably wasn't even on the team in 2006 either.
I just wanted to say I like Sam Madison. All right, fantasy draft. Justin will be picking first this week. He's in last place with 188 points, but he had a decent outing last week with 44 points. He's back 91. I'll be picking second. And first place, I finished last place last week, but it still wasn't a bad performance. Like a 30-point last place performance for me last week is like, if you want to finish in last, that's how you want to do it. I'm at 279.6. And then Danny's at second at 249.7, so he's 30 points back. He had a 50-point outing last week in first place. He'll be picking.
We're back, baby.
He'll be picking. You're back in second place still. I'm rooting for it. Like, I'll be honest, it's not as fun when you're on top. The chase is a lot more. It's like the dog chasing the car. It's like I've gotten the car, now I don't know what to do. Justin, you're picking first. Who are you going?
I think this is very, very easy, very, very simple. I need more points, so give me DJ Moore. He's the 10th ranked fantasy wide receiver right now. He has been killing it and dominating for Carolina so far this year, and especially without Christian McCaffrey, he is that primary go-to on that Carolina offense. It's simple. Give me DJ Moore.
Yeah, DJ Moore's been huge for me in fantasy football this year. So he was first on my big board. So I'm battling between 2 players, but since it's PPR and everyone else is out, I'm going to go Sterling Shepard. Even in last week, do you think Sterling Shepard had a big day? No, but he had 10 catches for 76 yards. So Shepard's a safe bet. Him being on the injury report scares me. I could get 0 points out of, but he is limited. He's limited, not DNP. So I'm going to stick with Shep and just hope he plays.
No problem, little Shep pick. I'm gonna go back to back, obviously, because that's the rules of the draft here. I'm gonna take Chuba Hubbard with my first pick. The Giants' run defense is not that good, and I think Chuba Hubbard can have today. I know DJ Moore is the more focal point of that offense, but Chuba Hubbard's gonna get touches, and I think I'll get some good points there.
I was hoping you were gonna be dumb and not pick him.
I know that's like the thought process. Like, all right, so what dumb pick's Danny gonna make right now? It's not happening yet.
See, because I thought about picking Chuba Hubbard second, but I was like, maybe Danny won't pass on Shepard. Maybe he'll pass on Hubbard. But Shep was big on my big board ahead of Hubbard anyways.
Yeah, I probably wasn't going to take Shep anyway. And then with my next pick, I am going to take Devontae Booker. I'm taking both running backs. Give them to me right now. Panthers run defense, it ranks? Where's that right there? 17th in the league? I mean, Devontae Booker, he got 10 points last week. I think he'll get me points, and especially with the unknowns of if Shepard will play. He will play, I'm assuming, and then Evan Ingram's calf injury. Just Devontae Booker is going to get carries. He might not get a lot of yards because his offensive line's terrible, but he'll get carries.
So we went. My big board was DJ Moore 1, Shep 2, Hubbard 3, and then Booker 5. So close to as chalk as you can get for the first 4 picks. So, but I'm going to take who's 4 on my big board, and I know this scares me. This is actually a really there's so when we play Dallas, it's like, man, this is a good week for fantasy football. Your last pick can get you 15 to 20 points. This week, man, it's like your second pick might not get you points. And I'm going Darius Slayton. Like, Slayton is a part of this offense even when Kenny Golladay was here, even when Saquon was here. With those guys gone, with Kadarius Toney gone, he's going to be a part of the offense. He could have a dud, but he also could have a nice big game versus Carolina, especially with some of these 2-man routes, and hopefully they're trying to take some shots. Probably not, but he's at least going to catch some curls and stuff. So I'm going to go Slayton after missing 3 games in a row. He's still on the injury report, but I'm going Darius Slayton with my second pick in the 5th overall.
Yours are the most risky so far because I'm assuming Slayton's going to play because I assumed last week. Shepard, who knows because with that late injury pop-up. But right now I say you're rocking the riskiest so far.
Justin, you got back-to-back picks.
Are these my final 2 picks?
No.
No? I really don't want to risk it though. All right, I'm gonna go Robbie Anderson with my first pick. He's had two. What did you say?
I said, wow, through 2 rounds, my top 6 on the big board are gone.
There you go.
You guys are starting to learn from me.
He's had 2 11 target games so far, but in those 11 target games, he had 5 catches, and then last week against Minnesota, he had 3 catches, only for 11 yards, but a touchdown. So he gets a lot of targets. I mean, who knows? This may be Robbie Anderson's get-right game. And I'm going to do this.
I know what you're going to do. I know exactly what you're about to do.
What am I going to do? Who am I going to pick right now?
Is he a Golden Domer?
Oh, he's a Golden Domer. He was my gotta-have-it player from this draft season. Give me backup tight end Tommy Tremble. That could be a bad pick, but we know the whole backup tight end thing in fantasy against the Giants this year. Tommy Tremble's a guy that I really, really like. So even though it's not my last pick, I couldn't risk him being picked before I was up again. Give me Tommy Tremble.
He was 12th on my big board. You just took him 7th.
Hey.
But the backup tight end thing is real. He has 4 touches this year, 2 touchdowns.
Come on.
So Tommy Tremble, maybe the backup thing goes through. All right, so I'm going Ian Thomas. Now, I put together my big board before, but Evan Ingram did not participate in practice, with a calf injury. So I'm going to go Ian Thomas, the Panthers starting tight end. And I'm not taking Evan Ingram because of that injury. So Ian Thomas. I remember when I was doing some end of 2018 Evan Ingram stats, Ian Thomas was right there with him, at top of the league of yards per game and stuff. He's only averaged 20 yards per game this year, but I'm still, it's better than what's left on the board.
Man, oh man, this is just really bad territory. I'm gonna take Dante Pettis. Injuries at wide receiver. He had 9 points last week. Maybe
he's not even on the roster.
Not even on the roster. Oh well, don't put that down. I just changed my mind midway through as you said.
No, what I'm saying is he's gonna be activated to the roster.
It's Dante Pettis. Give me Dante Pettis. You made me second guess myself right there. You're trying to play strategy on me. That's smart. And then man, after this, where do we go from here? You know what? For the fun of it, I'm gonna take your good old pal Kyle Rudolph. For the fun of it, because Evan Ingram's on the injury report. He's might get targets and probably drop all of them.
I was thinking Kyle Rudolph was last on my big board, so that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
At least
11,
he's on the big
12,
board.
13, 14, 15, 16. He's 17th on my big board. I put everyone who's available on the big board, so I mean there's 12 slots, and I had him 17th. So it's my last pick, so I don't need to hide anything.
There's no one left.
Part of me wants to just take Evan Ingram, but I'm not.
Do it.
The smart pick would be taking Royce Freeman, their backup running back, because they want to run. The gambler in me wants to go Shi Smith, because Shi Smith played his first game last week, and I kind of love Shi Smith in the draft stuff, and he's a weapon, and they have Terrace Marshall's hurt. I forget the one wide receivers, the white dude, he's hurt. Erickson's hurt. But I'm gonna go smart, and I'm gonna go Royce Freeman. I mean, Matt Rule said he wants to run the ball 30 to 35 times. It's not gonna be all Chuba Hubbard with those carries. So I'm gonna take the smart bet and go Royce Freeman. Justin, finish it off.
Because I haven't picked a Giant yet, give me Colin Johnson.
Oh, over John Ross. How about that?
Well, I don't think he's gonna play. I think he's hurt. So.
Yeah, he practiced. Yeah, that's true. So Evan Ingram left off the board. So Evan Ingram left off the board. Shi Smith, John Ross. Yeah, Marshall and Erickson could play, but they might not. So it's understanding why you wouldn't take any of them. Yeah, really bad week for the fantasy draft. So Justin, to recap, has DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Tommy Tremble, and Colin Johnson. I have Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Ian Thomas, and Royce Freeman. Danny has Chuba Hubbard, Devontae Booker, Dante Pettis, and Kyle Rudolph. All right, going to be an interesting week. Justin, you get the first pick at Giant Factor this week.
Yeah. Giant Factor. Very simple. Just thought of it. I got really mad at Tay Crowder last week when I was in the stands. On a reaction episode, didn't really get a chance to talk about it. Made some good plays, but made a lot of bad plays. And, sure, maybe it's on Patrick Graham a little bit for leaving him one-on-one on the outside with running backs, and he's allowed 2 very big plays this year on the outside to running backs who have flanked out wide as wide receivers. But Tay Crowder has had some bad games. He's put together some bad games. Maybe we shouldn't put this expectation on him, but I still think he can be a good young quality player for this football team. You're playing against the unit and an offensive unit that isn't running the ball very successfully this year, but they want to try and do it this game. Go out there, be an athlete, play loose, play with your athleticism, play like you're comfortable, make some plays in the run game, make some plays in the passing game. Just be an athlete, like I said. You're my giant factor today. You've had some bad games. Go out there, have a better game this Sunday.
Fair enough. Danny Behan said Art Stapleton's chair is your giant factor of the week.
That is true. I still do not have that in my possession.
Can't make bad. Gotta get the chair back.
I do.
Yeah, we can't get snarky on the show for giant factors. Like the Saturday giant factor tweet has become very snarky. We can't do that on the show yet. I'm going James Bradberry, playing against his former team.
Oh yeah,
and I know I just took Danny's because the reaction I just saw on his camera. But I'm going. So you start thinking right now, Danny King. I'm going James Bradberry. We talked about before. They are a DJ Moore offense. He averages 85 yards per game. The next closest is Robbie Anderson, averaging 31 yards per game. DJ Moore is their offense, and Sam Darnold is their quarterback who throws interceptions. He's top 5 in the league of interceptions thrown this year with 7. So he's going to take some risks. And, I was watching their offense. Darnold, he likes to take chances still, and obviously shows up in the numbers. Bradberry, you've had dropped interceptions. Now, you've had 2 regular interceptions, but you've had dropped interceptions this year. We need you to come up with something. 1, slow down DJ Moore and get us a turnover. Maybe we get the ball at the 20, and that's how you end up winning a game like this versus a really good defense. So maybe get 2 interceptions. Why not? James Bradberry, you can really get people back on your side with a big performance this week. So I'm going James Bradberry with my giant factor of the week versus the Carolina Panthers in week 7. Danny, have I stalled enough for you to figure out your giant factor?
You have stalled enough for me. I decided to stick with the secondary. I was like, do I want to go Logan Ryan after it seemed like him and Bradberry kind of gave up on that play? But that was the only reason why I would have went with Logan Ryan, so I decided not to. This week I'm going to go Dory Jackson. He hasn't been anything, in my opinion, special. Like, you look at his target and reception numbers, he usually gets beat up a lot by these opposing teams last week. 2 weeks ago, he was targeted 8 times and he allowed 6 receptions. And Dory Jackson hasn't been anything special. We were promised that we would be getting...
That's Justin's MVP of the D.
Really? Wow. Maybe I've been looking at it wrong. But Dory Jackson, come on, I feel like this could be a potential for a Robbie Anderson breakout game. You're gonna need to slow him down. And James Bradberry, I think he'll be able to slow down DJ Moore. Just a Dory Jackson, get the job done, please. Let's just keep this offense somewhat neutralized, because this could be a game like, yes, the Panthers are struggling, but they could easily just break out and drop like 30 points on us if they so chose. So like this really, this whole Giants factor is like defense, but I think Dory Jackson is my main.
Yeah, we all went defense. Who would be in, like, let's put together our heads for one offensive giant factor.
Darius Slayton missed the last few games, possibly coming back. A lot of people are talking a lot about Kadarius Toney wanting to take some snaps away. Like, Slayton would be the guy that you would want to take the snaps away from. So go out there, make a big play, and get fans on your side again.
Yeah, Slayton would need a big game to get fans on his side. But yeah, I think that's a good pick. All right, spread picks. Listeners went 3-5 last week. They're at 22-25. We're represented by Rahul Bahaj this week. Justin is in last place, who was just putting together bad week after bad week. He went 2-6 last week. He's 18-29. I am in second at 28-19, 5-3 last week, and then Danny had a 6-2 week last week. Danny's been killing it in the spread picks. He's 30-17. First game of the week, we've got another Pat Shurmur versus former QB game. We got Broncos at Browns. Case Keenum Thursday Night Football starting for the Browns. Browns are 1.5 point favorites at home. Listeners are going Broncos plus 1.5. Danny, you're in first, so you get to pick the first pick on this one.
I've learned these past few weeks that anyone could do what I'm doing and just correctly pick a team to cover the spread and win their game. So it's pretty much that simple. Anyone can do it. But Justin. I have the sunglasses on. Except Justin. He's kind of struggling over there. I lost the Bills game because of Justin. I want to make that perfectly clear. He picked the Bills last second, and they lost.
That is true.
I blame Justin
but that just reveals my genius. It reveals my genius because anything that I pick, you should pick the opposite.
Yeah, pretty much. And I got caught lacking right there. Give me the Broncos plus 1.5. I think this is a game they'll end up winning because the Browns are beat up. They might not have OBJ, but it seems like they might. Who knows? But they have Case Keenum, and Pat Shurmur knows him well. He's the reason for his success.
OBJ sucks anyways. I'm on a big trash OBJ toward the last couple of weeks, just because I don't like him. I'm going Broncos plus 1.5 too. Case Keenum out. Now the Broncos are banged up at wide receiver too, but I just got a feeling. I got a feeling the Broncos are gonna win this game. Justin, who do you got?
Yeah, they showed a little bit of fight towards the end of that Raiders game. Broncos plus 1.5. I'm still a Broncos believer. I'm rooting for them to be good, and that's what Mikey just told me to do. So,
wow, Mikey. So we'll see what Mikey's record ends up being. All right, we got Chiefs at Titans, which I think is the game of the week. Titans plus 5.5 at home. I'm back in on the Titans. You know, they kind of they lost to the Jets, but that win on Monday Night Football versus the Bills was beautiful. And I had to take this offseason that I was like, I don't think the Titans are the second best team in the AFC, but I think the Titans are the best team equipped to beat the Chiefs. I just feel like the Titans are a team that will beat the Chiefs every year they play. So I'm going Titans plus 5.5 at home. Listeners are also going Titans plus 5.5. Justin, who do you got?
I don't know, because the Titans don't have the same defense that they did. And this may be a game where Ryan Tannehill has to throw early. But I'm still going to go Titans plus 5.5 because that's a line that it's one of those lines that doesn't, I don't know, it may make sense, but that's such a massive spread for two good teams. So I'm going to go Titans plus 5.5. Plus Mahomes has been throwing some interceptions and balls have been going off wide receivers' hands and they've been finding defenders too. So maybe that can happen again this weekend.
Danny Boy King.
I was kind of leaning towards the Chiefs, but your guys' argument swayed me enough to bring me on board the Titans. That was a good win for them on Monday night, so give me the Titans.
So we've all agreed on the first two picks.
That's not good for you guys.
Boring. Washington at the Pack. There's not a lot of good games this week, so we're going to get some stinkers in here. Washington at Packers. Packers minus 7.5 at home. Justin, who do you have in this one?
Washington plus 7.5 with no explanation.
I also have Washington plus 7.5.
Damn. I was hoping we would be different.
I just feel like they're going to score a touchdown. Danny, who do you have?
Oh my God, guys, no way! I have the Packers minus 7.5.
All right, then we just gave that game to Danny.
Thank you,
Listeners
guys.
also went Packers. Falcons at Dolphins. Do you guys think the Deshaun Watson trade is actually happening?
No.
There's no shot.
I feel like it is.
The moment he steps on the field, they're going to suspend him instantaneously, it feels like.
Well, they may not want him for this year. They might want him for the future. And supposedly the Texans wanted to wait as long as they could towards the trade deadline to keep that pick bad. So Dolphins Falcons are actually favored by 2.5 on the road, which I was surprised at that spread. Danny, who do you got?
Falcons, they beat the Jets over in London. Dolphins lost in London, so based on my calculations, the Falcons will win this game. Give me the Falcons minus 2.5.
That was actually my explanation too, so it was like, I don't know. It's just I've watched both these two teams the past 2 weeks, and the Falcons look better. So I'm going Falcons as well. Listeners are going Falcons. Justin, are you going Falcons?
Yes, I am.
That's so unfortunate.
Big ol' agree week. Here we go. We got the Jared Goff revenge game. We got Lions at Rams. Rams are 15-point favorites at home. I'm going Lions. I believe in revenge. I believe in the mental makeup of Jared Goff wanting to get revenge. His coach called him out this week. They're 0-6. So I'm not saying they're going to win, but I think they're going to cover a 15-point spread. I am going Lions plus 15. Danny, who do you have in this one?
See, but it also feels like the Jared Goff revenge game might work against it because he might make some stupid decisions. But with that said, I will be agreeing with you, Bobby. I am going with the Lions. There's no way. I find it hard to believe they're going to lose by 15 because the Lions they're bad, but they've played hard in some games, and this could be another one of those games where they just play hard and keep it. I don't want to say close, but it's not like a complete blowout like what the Rams did last week to us.
The listeners are going Rams. Justin, who are you siding with? Your co-hosts or the listeners?
I'm siding with the listeners. Rams minus 15.
Bengals at Ravens, which might be the second best game of the week. Ravens are favored by 6.5 at home. Listeners went Bengals plus 6.5. Justin, what are you going?
I love the Bengals. Also love Lamar Jackson. I think this may be a little bit of a letdown for the Bengals, so give me Ravens minus 6.5.
Danny?
Bengals they're fun. They are a fun team to watch. Unfortunately, they're on at 1:00, same time the Giants are on pretty much every Sunday now. Give me the Bengals plus 6.5. I feel like they could get it done, except Joe Burrow might not be able to speak and call out coverages at the line of scrimmage.
I think the Ravens know that the Bengals are getting a lot of hype right now, and the Ravens are a very raw team. The Ravens know. The Ravens know that the Bengals are a team that everyone's starting to like, and they're like, this is still our division. I'm going Ravens minus 6.5. We got the Bears at the Bucks. Bucks minus 12.5 at home. The biggest age gap between starting QBs in NFL history at 22 years. I was on the Bears all last year. I'm going the Bears plus 12.5 in this one. Justin, what about you?
Bucks minus 12.5. Give me all the big spreads this week besides the Chiefs-Titans one, of course.
Listeners are going Bears with me. Danny, who are you going with?
I am going Bears with you as well because the Bears beat the Bucks by 1 last year, and this is pretty much the same Bucks team and the Bears. I don't think they got Justin Fields. Maybe he could be fun. I think the Bears can keep this one close.
Yeah, but you forget that Nick Foles owns Tom Brady.
Yes.
So that had a lot to do with it.
Yes, the stepfather of Tom Brady.
Sunday Night Football. Colts at 49ers. 49ers favored by 4 at home. Justin, who do you got?
Colts plus 4. I think Carson Wentz has been okay, which makes me mad.
I know. We need the Colts to be worse so they can not play Carson Wentz, or just Carson Wentz needs to get hurt.
Yeah,
so
he's been playing all right.
First round pick doesn't turn into a first rounder for the Eagles. But I do too. I think the 49ers are kind of, they started out 2-0 and now are 2-4. I think they're heading down, while the Colts have been a little better lately. So I'm going Colts as well. Listeners are going 49ers. Danny, what are you going?
Love the Colts getting some Sunday Night Football love. I am also going the Colts. I do feel like the 49ers are trending down. And if Carson Wentz is playing halfway decent on 2 bad ankles, then I feel like he has a chance to beat the 49ers.
Yeah, I wasn't on the 49ers coming into this year like a lot of people were. So I got close. All right. Let's finish it off. Danny, what is your score prediction for Panthers at Giants?
I know, Bobby, you said in the beginning of the show this could be a winnable game for the Giants, and it very well may be. But the Giants right now are a bad football team. I believed in them last week, and that's on me. The Giants are going to lose this game. It's unfortunate, but it's true. They won't lose as bad as they did last week. That was just an utter embarrassment what they did, especially when they honored the Super Bowl 46 team. Giants are going to lose. I'm going to say 24-10. Carolina wins it.
Can I defend the Giants ownership for a second?
Oh, whoa.
Everyone's like, why are they throwing all these memories in our face? Why are they doing all this? They're trying to distract us. They don't get the pick when the 10-year anniversary of a Super Bowl is, people. Okay? Yeah, like Eli Manning, it would have been last year if they had fans in the stand for Eli Manning. And they did wait too long on Strahan, but they realized, hey, we can't retire Eli's number and just still leave Strahan waiting. So that's that. They didn't do it to be like, we're gonna lose this year. Let's distract the fan. Like that doesn't distract the fan base, anyways.
It's not like what Washington did with Sean Taylor when they just randomly threw it together. This has obviously been planned for months at this point.
Yeah. Well, actually, the Taylor one supposedly was planned, and they just didn't let anyone know. Maybe it wasn't. They're idiots. Screw them. All right, Justin, what's your score prediction for this game?
26-16 Panthers.
I thought about making this a 2-0 game, but I have to be angry for making it the 2-0 game. Like, I have to be really pissed off at the Giants. And it's like, I'm kind of just numb right now. So, they have to do... Joe Judge has to do something that really pisses me off in a week to pull it out. And this would be a good week because there's a bunch of injuries. They are at a low point. They're 1-5. But it's been a quiet week after the loss. I think that has something to do with it too. It needs to be a busy week where they piss me off really good. So I'm going Giants 77, Panthers 0. If anyone asks, if we win, Bobby actually called this to be a win, which is fun. But this is not I'm not giving you a pump up speech, so that kind of speaks to it a little bit too, I'm not picking 2-0, but I'm not giving you some pump up. Giants 77, Panthers, like, that's kind of died in me a little bit. So, Giants 77, Panthers 0. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you on Monday. Hopefully a victory Monday. Probably not. And see, this is depressing the way I'm ending these. We appreciate you guys. We'll see you Monday. Enjoy your weekend. But until then, let's go Big Blue.